Good morning everybody. Today we are going to continue with our information writing and we're going to use what we know about Neil Armstrong. So Monday, hopefully you managed to complete your reading comprehensions so that you know a little bit about Neil Armstrong. We were going to look through the PowerPoint this morning first because before we write, we need to know the information. It can be really hard if I ask you to write about Neil Armstrong now and we can't remember very much about him. So hopefully we'll come away from this PowerPoint with a few facts. Okay, we'll just move on to this one. So who is Neil Armstrong? Now, this is what Neil Armstrong looks like, okay, when he went on his first mission to the moon for that landing, okay, because he did go to space before his moon landing, and this one is from his moon landing shot. So Neil Armstrong was a famous American astronaut, and something, okay, that is hopefully what we all know now, that he is a famous, okay, he was a famous American astronaut. And it's important that I say was, okay, because that's part of our past tense that we're talking about, okay, that he was a famous American astronaut, because sadly Neil Armstrong died in 2012, I think. I will double check that, but I think it was 2012. So Neil Armstrong was a famous American astronaut. So hopefully that is a fact that we can keep in our head, okay, and we can remember that sentence, okay? What else do we know about him, okay? So he's famous for being the first man on the moon, or he was the first man on the moon, okay? And that is what he is famous for today, okay? So today, he is famous for being the first man to land on the moon. And that's a really important fact, okay? And if you were to ask most people what they know Neil Armstrong for, it is for landing on the moon, for being that first man to step onto the moon. Neil Armstrong's life. So what do we know about him? Well, I remember that he was born in 1930, and the year 2s for the reading comprehension. Yesterday we talked about that he was born in the state, okay, of Ohio, which is in the country America, okay? So it was 1913, he was born in Ohio, which is in America. And I remember yesterday from reading that he was 15 years old when he got his first pilot's license. So he achieved, that's something that we have to do, and we'll have to go through lots of tests and lots of practical activities to fly a plane. And he was only 15. He was 15 years old, okay, when he achieved his first pilot's license. Now, we talked about this word yesterday for the year 2 reading comprehension. Attending means that he went to, okay, after attending university, he became a test pilot, okay, and flew over 200 different aircrafts in his career. So 200 different ones, it wasn't the same one, so he went on 200 different aircrafts in his career. So he will have flown over 200 times, because he flew at least 200 different ones, okay, to test those out. He was accepted to be part of the NASA astronaut corps in September 1962. So NASA, okay, is the famous space, I'll call it space company, okay, which we talk about when we talk about space a lot. It's NASA, and he was accepted into NASA in 1962. So things that I can remember without looking at that. I remember he was born in 1930 in Ohio, which is in the country America. I remember that he was 15 when he achieved his first pilot license. What else do I remember? I know that he flew over 200 different types of aircraft. Do you know, I remembered 3 facts there, and I'm pretty pleased that I remembered at least 3. The NASA, that he was accepted into NASA in 1962. If you could remember 2 facts, that would be great. You remembered 3. If you remembered all 4, that's super. And it's about remembering what we have read, which will help us when we come to writing. Okay, so as I taught yesterday to the year 2s in their reading comprehension, it's not about just reading. We need to understand what we've read, and we need to try and remember that information. So Neil Armstrong's life, he was the first trip into space, his first trip was in 1966 on an aircraft, well, on a spacecraft called Gemini 8. So he first went into space in 1966. That was not his moon landing, that was just going into space, leaving our atmosphere and entering space in 1966. In 1969, okay, that was the year when he went on board the Apollo 11, okay? And the Apollo 11 is a spacecraft which took him to space for the moon landing, okay? And he became the first man to walk on the moon in 1969. So 1966, he went into space for the first time. In 1969, he became the first man to land on the moon. And there we go. Because I read this earlier and I remembered, he died in 2012 in Ohio, where he was born, okay? So in 2012, sadly, he passed away. Let's look at walking on the moon. Oh, so walking on the moon. On December 23rd, 1968, Neil Armstrong was offered the chance to command the space mission Apollo 11. So that's been a big part of that mission into space. So he's helping to lead on that, where he be in the spacecraft, and there's lots of people down on Earth who are helping command with him, okay, give him instructions, but he was leading in the spacecraft. This would be the first manned landing on the moon. So they've sent spacecraft before to the moon, but this is the first time that a man, a human, okay, has landed on the moon. After months of practice and preparation, the Apollo 11 spacecraft launched from the from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida on July the 16th, 1969. So he found out in the December, and then 7 months later, he landed. He went into space. He didn't land on the 16th of July. He actually landed on the moon on the 21st of July in 1969. So lots of preparation, 6 months of preparation, okay, into knowing step by step what they were going to be doing. Neil Armstrong, along with Buzz Aldrin, landed on the moon, okay. Neil became the first man to walk on the moon on July the 21st, 1969. So July the 21st, 1969, he became the first man to walk on the moon. The astronauts arrived back on Earth on July the 24th, 1969. So for 3 days, okay, they left on the 16th, okay, they left Earth on the 16th, and then they returned on the 24th, so 8 days later, just over a week, okay, it took him to go into space, land on the moon, and then 3 days later, after landing on the moon, they arrived back on Earth, okay. Let's have a look. Now, this is what he was very famous for. After stepping onto the moon, his first words were, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Because Neil Armstrong just left his tiny footprint, but that tiny footprint was a massive, massive step for science, for us knowing all about space and the moon. So that's why I said it was such a giant leap, it's such a big step forward for everybody to know about space. You're okay, Mr. Swan? Pop on through. So this one, if we just go back, okay, walking on the moon. Facts there that 1966 was his first trip into space. 1969 was the year that he landed on the moon. What I have done for you today, okay, I have created a plan. Let me just try and find that on here, if my computer would like to work for me this morning. Oh, let me see. Right, bear with me. Dearie me, I'm going to just unplug something and then see if that will work. That normally works if you unplug something. There we go. There we are. So I'm going to plug that back in so that it appears for us again. It's just like being like in class when Mrs. Eastwood has all the technical difficulties. We'll press another button. Lots of buttons. There we go. That usually helps. Have we got it? Oh, there we go. Right. Luckily it's the last week for us of doing this. So here I've created a plan. This is on our Wakelet today. Now, I haven't grouped it into the circles like we did last time. I've just put what we know about Neil Armstrong around it, and you might be able to then group it at home. So things that I remembered: 1930 in America. 1930 America. Why have I wrote that? What do we know about 1930 in America? What do you remember? Hopefully you remember that he was born in 1930 in Ohio, which is in America. Now, what do you remember about 15 years old pilot license? And remembering that when we see these keywords, these aren't what we write in our writing like this. We use it to make our sentence. So don't just copy my words, put it into a sentence. So 15 years old pilot license. I know that he was 15 years old when he achieved his pilot license. Famous astronaut. What do you know about famous astronaut? What sentence could you say about famous astronaut? What could you say? Famous astronaut. What words might you use to go with famous astronaut? I may say that he is known as a famous astronaut because he was the first man to land on the moon. July 21st, 1969, Apollo 11. What do you know about those words? July 21st, 1969, Apollo 11. What do you know? Why have I wrote these words? What do I know about this date? Hopefully you said that you know that he landed on the moon. So on July the 21st, 1969, Neil Armstrong landed on the moon after travelling on the Apollo 11. Okay, or after going into space on the Apollo 11. And we've got, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I will let you copy all of that, okay, because that is his famous quote. And I might say, Neil Armstrong is famous for saying, and then I can copy that quote. What I've done, I've created a little information page to help you with that. So, let's just go back over onto this one. Hopefully it's working. Yes, lovely, brilliant, okay. I'm going to make it large so that we can see. Beginning, let's have a look. Hopefully it's still working, lovely. So with our information page, we've got our title, Neil Armstrong. So if you've looked on the plan, okay, and please keep the plan next to you when you're writing, you know in the middle it says Neil Armstrong, that is our title. Year 2s, I would look for you to just do a couple of sentences as your introduction telling me about the page. Year 1s, don't worry about that, okay? But year 2s, I would expect you to be thinking about an introduction. That introduction informs us what the page is going to be about. Now, I've used some of our words already from our plan. I've used the famous astronaut words off my plan. So Neil Armstrong was a famous American astronaut, and he was the first man to land on the moon, okay? And that was taken from my plan, which had, oops, would help if it came back, and it's going to be funny for me again, isn't it? Let's have a look. There we go. The famous astronaut. Okay, so I would tick that off on my plan, and then I know that I can write about my next sentence. So, did you know that he was a successful pilot before he became an astronaut? Year 2s, in your writing, I'm looking at you put different types of sentences, and I put a question in there so I can tick off that yes, I know not just to write statements, not just to write information, I can use different types of sentences, and I've used a question there. This information page will inform you all about Neil Armstrong. And year 1s, okay, as well as the year 2s, I hope we're spotting that I am writing Neil Armstrong with those capital letters. Okay, it's a proper noun, it's his name, so we should have capital letters. So whenever we read your writing, Neil Armstrong must have those capital letters. His early life. Neil Armstrong was born in 1930 in Ohio, which is in America. And I took that from our information there, 1930 America. But because I could remember it was in Ohio, I could add that little bit of information. So I know now I wrote that he was a famous astronaut. I wrote that he was born in 1930 in America. As I have got the subheading, his early life, I think it would make sense to now talk about him being 15 years old when he achieved his pilot license, okay? And I'm trying to say these sentences, the same sentences, that you remember them, okay? And it's about that talking about our writing again. So 15 years old, pilot license. Let's see how we've put that into our sentence. At the young age of 15, he achieved his pilot license. So year two's there, I've put an adjective, young. At the young age of 15, he achieved his pilot license. Year ones, you might remember just to write your sentence of he achieved or he got his pilot license when he was 15 years old. Okay? Year twos is you who I'm looking for a little bit more information in your sentences. Now, let's have a look at our plan. So we wrote about when he was born, we wrote that he was 15 years old, we wrote that he was a famous astronaut, and I don't think the next two would fit in his early life. So let's have a look. Okay, we've got, actually, let me go back up here. I've remembered some information that I've not put on my plan. And that's okay. If you know some information that's not on your plan, you can add that in. So I remembered when I've been writing this that he flew over 200 different types of aircraft. Okay, it's a fact that I remembered that I didn't put on my plan, and that's completely fine to do. If you remember some extra information that is not on this plan, you can add it on as well. So after he attended university, he became a test pilot and flew over 200 different aircrafts, okay? So that was a very important fact, that 200 different types of aircraft is an amazing number. So it's knowing that he flew hundreds of times, okay? So after he attended university, he became a test pilot and flew over 200 different aircrafts. Now, that's mainly what I remember about his early life. So then I have a new subheading, and I put it as his career as an astronaut. You might just write Neil Armstrong, the astronaut, okay? You might just write Neil became an astronaut. Just a little subheading which tells me what the next part of the information is going to be about. Year twos, I am looking for this clear subheading, okay? That you're using that title, that introduction, that you're using the subheadings. Year ones, if you can have a go at putting subheadings, that would be lovely, but don't worry too much, okay? I don't want to overwhelm you with information. Now, so let's have a look back at the plan to remind me of the sentences I can write. July 21st, 1969, Apollo 11. So what could I say about that? Okay, but again, I've remembered some information. I've remembered that in 1966, he went on his first trip into space. So I've put about that first. And I've put his first trip into space was in 1966. Then he made his famous trip to space in 1969. So the year twos, that's how, okay, I've used a conjunction then, okay, because I've added some information, okay. I've not just said he first landed on the moon in 1969. That's a perfect sentence in year ones, that would be brilliant, okay, but year twos, I've given that a little bit more information and said his first trip into space was in 1966. Then he made his famous trip to space in 1969, okay? I can then go on to give the date, so I've managed to write two sentences for that one idea on my plan. Neil walked on the moon on July 21st, 1969, and 3 days later returned to Earth. So I've used the conjunction and to give that little bit more information. When Neil first stepped onto the moon, he became famous for saying, and then I've copied the quote, That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Today, okay, really important that I am spotting that we're writing Neil Armstrong with capital letters as that proper noun. I am also looking year 2s for your past tense so that I know it's something that he has done in the past, okay? So that I know, let's see an example. He achieved, I've used that past tense, that ed, okay, to say that he achieved. It's something which he has done. So if I move this over here, okay, I'll underline this, but I'm not sure how to get rid of this box. I feel if I touch that, then everything's going to go. There we go. Annotate, there we go. Move this over here. So he achieved his pilot license after he attended. Okay, it tells me it was a past tense, it's something he's already done. Okay, we know that he walked, okay, on the moon, okay, and he returned, okay. It's looking and making sure that we know that it is the past, it is an event which has happened. So I am looking for that ed, those past tense, okay, that we're writing the correct tense, that it's things that have happened in the past. He stepped onto the moon, he landed on the moon, he walked on the moon, so that we know it's making sense to the reader. We know this is an event that's happened in the past. So please, today, look through that PowerPoint if you need to remember any more information. If you've remembered it, that's fab. If not, you can have a look. Please use the plan, okay? Look at the plan for these ideas. Don't just copy the words into your writing. Say it as a sentence. Remember last week where we said the sentence, say it, say it, say it, write it, check it. Say it, write it, check it. Remember, say it a few times so you know you remember what you're writing. Okay, you might practice saying that with your adult. You might say it a few times with your adult, and then your adult can walk away, okay, and leave you to write your sentence on your own. You might remember some of the sentences I've been saying, and that will be brilliant. You can then copy it. If you've remembered what I said, okay, you can copy it. Don't copy it looking at my board, but if you can remember what I said, okay, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to copy it. That's why I talk to you so much. So you have ideas to copy, that you can copy some of the words that I've been using. Please check it. Read your sentences and check that they make sense. So I'm looking year 1 so you have a title, okay, that you're using capital letters in the correct place, especially using it for Neil Armstrong's name today, and that you're trying to use some of those words on the plan to write your information about him. Year 2s, I'm looking that we've got that title, we've got our introduction, we've got our subheadings, okay, and we've got 2 to 3 sentences under each of those. That you're using your conjunctions, your adjectives, but mainly today I'm checking that past tense in your writing. Please, everybody, read your sentences and check that they make sense, okay? And what day is it then tomorrow? It will be Thursday, and it is World Book Day. So World Book Day, lots of activities. I'm popping up on a Wake Up for you just to enjoy. So there won't be any teaching videos for Thursday, okay? And have a super day on Thursday. Please send photos of yourselves dressed up. Can't wait to see what you look like. Okay, bye-bye.